The attempt to end my husband's life was a horrible, distressing experience. Now, the silence around it feels heavy. I can't help but wonder, why didn't law enforcement officials arrest the shooter before the speech? There is definitely more to this story, and we need to uncover the truth.
And then there's the book. George Webb on our Dude Maker hotline with us. George, good morning. How are you?
Great, Mike. It's good to talk to you early in the morning.
Now, are you high tea today? You're okay?
Yeah, I'm hanging out at Paul Wellens Airport, and I'll explain why I'm hanging out at private aviation in Las Vegas, if you want, to try to catch these Iranians that are trying to kill Trump. I mean, you know, when you want to start with who is on your list of people that you would follow, right, if you're the FBI, I would follow the guys who are being sponsored by Iran, right? There's two guys we've known about, and they've lost track of. They let into the country two Iranian assassins who say they want to kill Trump, you know. So that's how I start my investigations, with people who are already in the country, already illegally saying they want to kill Trump.
Your investigations, you and I, this is week 11 now for us. It's hard to believe. Tomorrow is the 13th. So that means that it has been 2 full months. 2 months since they tried to blow Trump's head off on international television, George. No one has been fired at Secret Service. There have been a couple of people that you're suspended for a couple of weeks here. Kim Cheadle resigned, and I think that was just done to silence people. No one has been fired. There's been no change. We still don't know how in the world the 20-year-old shiftless loser that was Thomas Matthew Crooks, how in the world did he evade the world's most elite policing and security outfit, or the two, the FBI and the Secret Service. No questions have been answered. There, as a matter of fact, George Webb, all we have are questions. And you're the only one that I see out there that's even trying to get to the answer here. Is the memory holding of the assassination, are they going to get, it looks to me like they're going to get away with this.
Well, I'm not so much worried about the assassination in Butler anymore. I'm worried about the next one. We saw a guy climb up and try to get at Trump in Johnstown, in not about more than 60 miles away from the original assassination. About 3 weeks later, nobody made any bones about that. But I'm just, I'm worried about, they were all at the 911. Trump was at Shanksville yesterday, and then he met Kamala at the 9/11 in downtown New York City. That's all well and good, I think, to commemorate the last one. But does America know? Does Trump know? Does Melania know that there are two assassins who are paid hitmen that are identified on the FBI watch list as of March 1st through the 4th in this country, where they lost track of them, running around in the United States? So most people don't know that, and then that coincides with the meeting in Plymouth, Massachusetts, where the white van from Crooks's house and Crooks's place of business somehow gets to Plymouth. So I'm looking at, is somebody meeting somebody from these overseas agents, because Crooks had overseas accounts, if you remember, 3 overseas bank accounts encrypted.
Right.
He also had 3 overseas chat accounts as well. So to me, that means he's chatting to somebody. He's not just chatting to himself. So I think these are the things we got to look at going forward for the next 55 days.
And as you point out on the Substack this morning, georgewebb.substack.com, Melania altered the course and the title of her book. She wasn't going to write about the assassination when they made the book deal a year ago, but now that's all she seemingly wants to talk about. And, to me, as a radio and TV broadcaster and someone that covers this stuff and sees this, there is no more striking of a figure. That video that we just played, there's no more striking of a figure in broadcast television than the chiseled, beautiful visage of Melania Trump.
And when her fingernails are out, she is quite the Hellcat. You can tell that her cat claws are out on this one.
No, her cat claws are out on this one. My only beef with the wonderful Kennedy era or Kennedy-esque assassination AI that you generated, and I just got to know, how in the world is Webb doing this? Because her hair's just a little short in the back seat with Trump FK when she has the sniper rifle. That's my only complaint about it.
Well, the great Peter Duke, who I work with in Hollywood, came out with an even better one. So he even got the pink chiffon dress and the pillbox hat. But the idea here is this isn't your shrinking violet Jackie Kennedy in the back trying to scoop up John F. Kennedy's brains. This is Jackie Kennedy pulling out the AR-15 and laying into the grassy knoll before Kennedy gets to the spot. You know, this is a different first lady, I'll tell you right now.
George Webb, investigative journalist on our Dude Maker hotline here with us. Let's talk about the today's Substack. Let's talk about American Slaughter Pen Part 2. Tell our listeners and viewers out there that don't read you, and they should be, georgewebb.substack.com. What is the theme of this series, American Slaughter Pen?
Well, it is the fact that we have these folks out there who say they're trying to kill the president. And a slaughter pen is when they try to, like J6, they try to get you to come to peaceably assemble, and then they put their agents in, Joe Biggs with the Proud Boys, you know, and they throw a few gates, and then they say, oh, it's an insurrection. They bring in snipers to shoot you in a fishbowl arrangement, you know, in a sort of a slaughter pen is where that comes from. That term comes from when pigs are slaughtered at the end of the, you know, the growing cycle or whatever. And then the guys who originally started the fight, right, fade away, and you're left to get slaughtered. And this is not, you know, J7 with snipers or J6 with snipers is not my sandcastle in the air. I'm not dreaming this up. There's a new movie that Peter Strzok has out along with Colonel Vindman. Remember the perfect phone call guy listening in on the president? He's got a movie called War Game right now with this exact scenario. It's J6 plus the authorization of snipers to kill innocent civilians. So this is what I'm, you know, and Peter Strzok is in Hollywood right now with this movie, trying to get this thing to go to video on demand, this war game movie, and it's just, you know, it's J6 plus snipers. So, yeah.
Yeah, I want to, just as a quick sidebar here, you know, in August and September of 2019, when Shampeachment 1.0 was being pushed by that melonhead, sadistic, satanic nut, Shifty Adam Schiff in Congress, I was working with some French journalists, and I was working on a series called Ukraine Gate. And the Ukraine Gate was in 5 parts, and I did the English narration for the last 3. And I can tell you, because I was watching this in 2019 going, and the French and the Italians and the Ukrainian journalists that worked together on this, they had put the whole story together about what it was actually before we even knew there was a laptop. I knew all about the banking transactions with Hunter Biden and how they were going through the company in England and then to Latvia, and then the Latvians got wind of it and didn't want to get embroiled in a controversy, so they tried to indict Hunter and Devin Archer. I knew all about this. And the other thing that I knew from my work on Ukraine Gate, that Alexander Vindman and his brother, that those two were Ukrainian crooks. And that they somehow, Alexander Vindman got inside the Trump White House. I knew in September, or in late August or September of 2019, I knew exactly who leaked that call. And I believe that history will ultimately show that it was Vindman that called Schiff and told him that he heard the call, and that's how the whole thing began.
No doubt in my mind that's true, and they wanted to make him the head of the Ukrainian Defense Forces, if you remember that. We followed also his other brother in Cleveland with this guy Kolomoisky, this Ukrainian billionaire criminal who owns precious metals and so forth, war metals, war materials. So, yeah, there's a very deep string of corruption here with Vindman. He's making the movie to tell the story about how he's now going to be the hero of the next J6, you know, with these snipers. Again, they're bringing in the Ukrainians again. I don't think they're bringing him in to be like welcome wagon for Washington, D.C. I think they're bringing him in for sniping. So this is part of American Slaughter Pen. This is to warn the American people about the Vindman and bringing these operatives in. But the second piece is, hey, we have to deal with these standing death orders, these fatwas against the president, and I hope somebody's telling Trump about that. And it's not just two guys running around who shouldn't have been let in the country that are hitmen that are trying to kill Trump. This guy, it's Farah Hadi and then Astadani is the two guys. But that is now cycled up because the bagman from Pakistan who promised $1 million to kill Trump was also arrested the day before Trump was assassination, right? So that ups the ante there, right? And then the other piece to this is you've got, you've got Biden and Harris going and getting the guy out of a Russian prison who can give wings to these guys. He's the guy who has been with the Clinton Foundation and recruited snipers. His name's Paul Whelan. He's got. I went to his armory again yesterday, Arsenal Armory, and he's got an armory here, New Century Arms. Before that, he's got an armory. He's got an armory in Michigan called Kingsmead. He's got an armory where he sells AK-47s for Kalashnikov USA in Florida. So why isn't the FBI following this? It's got to be willful negligence. It's got to be looking the other way, and that's why I'm on the case. Why I'm burning the shoe leather, because somebody has to bring. Like you did to Ukraine Gate, somebody has to bring light to the story.
Well, let me just jump in here. George Webb, investigative journalist. Follow him at Real George Webb 1. That's the number 1 at x.com and georgewebb.substack.com. Let's just follow this up because I thought, George, my logical and always trying to get to the bottom of any story brain, the day that the news came out that Julian Assange was going to basically be pardoned for time served or whatever, and the charges were going to be dropped, and he was going to leave the bungalow or the bunker that he was in England, and he was going back to Australia. The day the news dropped, the thought occurred to me that the reason that Biden was doing this was because he knew that Assange had the DNC tapes and the DNC emails in 2014, 15, and 16, had all the dirt on the Podestas and the Clintons and all that, and maybe had some other dirt, that he was letting Assange go as a sort of insurance policy against Democrats that might try and take him out. That we go like, well, hey, I let Assange go on the agreement that he'll give me the remainder of the secret stuff that he got from the Seth Rich email dump in 2016. But you just said something that I had not thought of, and that is that, and I don't know whether that is true about Assange. It didn't work because they took Biden out anyways. The coup was successful. But I hadn't even thought about the Russian prisoner exchange, where the Russians got their guys and we got the journalist, Evan, what was his name? The journalist guy that was detained, and now he's back in the
spy kid.
Yeah. So, are you saying that that Biden released that the deal was made so that the sniper recruiter guy could be free?
I'm exactly saying that. Paul Whelan owns 3 different armories, like I said, Michigan, Nevada, and Florida, all in swing states. So he's seen flying around in a corporate jet owned by a guy who runs Borg Warner, pretty big Fortune 10 company. That guy, Roger Crona, also was an understudy of a CIA guy named Richard Bissell, who did things like Bay of Pigs. So the definite CIA contacts. Why do you go get a guy like that who can give these Iranians wings now? We want the Iranians, right, flying around on commercial. We want them in commercial airports where we can see their face and facial recognition. We want them going through bus stops and coffee shops and so forth where people can see them from the wanted posters. So my problem with Whelan is he's the one guy who can give these guys wings, private wings. And now it's much more difficult to stop an assassination. They're going to go in a swing state. They're going to go probably in a place where either the Chicago mob controls it, like Las Vegas, internally, inside. There was a Trump assassination here, if you remember, in 2016. Or they're going to do some kind of outdoor rally. But riding around in a van is much more controllable versus this Whelan who has access to a private airplane, private jets.
Now, from your report today, tell our listeners and our audience about the sheriff's deputies. So I assume you're asking the question, what are the deputies for Beaver County in Pennsylvania and the Butler Township, could they be pulled from their details? Because we know that they left their post and they were supposed to be looking at the AGR building roof. So is that why you're asking the question? And what have you learned from other sheriffs?
Yeah, this constitutional sheriff program, I met with the CEO, Sam Bushman, and I met a couple of the top sheriff, Sheriff Mack, and so forth. This also, by
I love
the way,
Sheriff Mack. Tell Sheriff Mack you know me.
Oh, okay, I will. I saw him at an event in Idaho. And so they're saying Sheriff Mack is going to start the next insurrection, right? They're saying this is the beginning of the next J6. So I wanted to get his perspective on that because Strzok is calling him out with this new movie War Game, right? Pretty much hasn't said his name, but is talking about a constitutional sheriff type program. But Sheriff Tony Guy of Beaver County in Pennsylvania has said it's my SWAT team that was there in Butler. It was my SWAT team that all left simultaneously. 6 guys have to leave their post to leave that assassination roof open. But it's not my SWAT team because they don't report to me. They report to the DOJ. They report to the federal government. Ah, really?
What?
Okay. Yeah, that was his excuse. And I'm like, well, let me go ahead and check this out with 3 different sheriffs. And I've checked it out with 3 different sheriffs. Every sheriff told me, no way. I know where my SWAT team is. You remember that old thing, Mike, in the 70s, where's your teenager tonight?
That's right. It's 10 p.m. Do you know where your children are? That's right.
Right. That's what I said to Tony. It's 10 o'clock at night. Do you know where your SWAT team is tonight? So, sheriff should know where the SWAT team is. And the ones, Doug Traubel is the one I interviewed in Ada County in Idaho. He said, I always know where my SWAT team is. He was a SWAT team member. So we're really trying to get to the bottom of the excuses here in the assassination, and we want to put a commission together, independent commission. If the Congress won't do it, right? Mike Kelly in the Congress seems to be dragging his feet. Other people that are doing it informal, they're saying let's release the autopsy of Crooks. Well, who cares? I don't care about the autopsy. I care about the conspiracy that put Crooks and got him an open roof.
We also ought to care about the conspiracy that Crooks's body was released, and that there was never any forensic examination done outside the coroner of Beaver County. He's the only one who looked at the body when Clay Higgins went there. To his shock, he was told, no, don't you read? No, we cremated him 10 days ago. And, of course, Clay Higgins is like, what? You cremated him? There's so much with this. Let's go back to where we start. Is Melania's voice loud enough to get this ball rolling, George?
Because up until this point, the book originally was going to be called Memoirs, and it was going to be kind of a more of a syrupy thing. This is me at the Rose Garden, meeting with yet another group, which is great. I mean, that's the role she played, a first lady, sort of a Jackie Kennedy. But this is Jackie Kennedy firing back. This is Jackie Kennedy gearing up with the black bloc and laying into this grassy knoll with about 50 rounds of St. Turn on Elm Street. This is a different Melania. So, and I think this is a much more Hollywood-esque character. She's sort of like the Eastern European, Ukrainian assassin and sniper defending her husband now. And so it's a much more colorful version of Melania that we're seeing. So I think the book is going to be Memoirs of an Assassination. I think that's going to be the title. We'll see if they change it to that or not. But she's definitely got the claws out on this, and she's not stopping. And she has that, like, as you mentioned, that just a 1,000-megawatt smile and the incredible looks and all that people just want to cover Melania.
Well, and there's something about the way she speaks too. There's a calmness and a soothingness in the voice. She's not like Hillary. I wanna know why, but no, Melania, like, no, they want to. She's Arnold Schwarzenegger with beauty and class. I want to
Well, I
know.
went to-
I want to know why did they try and to kill my husband? I'm going to get you to the bottom of this, and I don't care if that asshole from Graz, Austria, tries to get in my way.
Well, you do a great both Schwarzenegger and Melania. And I actually went to Slovenia, and I visited, and I actually sat with a band who did a Melania tribute song. I went to her hometown, and she's a lot more internationally aware than people think. She speaks 5 languages. She's been to every European capital 50 times.
Wow.
Yeah, so she was much more of a sharp operator, if you will. I'm not saying she was being used to root out Nazis in NATO, but I'm just saying that here's Harris.
Why
saying
not?
She's never been, right? Why not? I think
Why
she was
not?
being used. She went after some Benassis, but we'll get to that later. But I'm just saying, here's Harris saying, I haven't been to Europe. She doesn't realize Turkey's a part of Europe. She's saying, I haven't been to Europe. And here's this Melania who's been to all the European capitals many times. She's gone in the hoi polloi of all the kings and queens and so forth at all these events. So she's a lot sharper than people give her credit for. They think she's just a supermodel. She's a supermodel with brains, and also she's a supermodel with teeth and claws. So that's the one I want to cover right now.
Well, that's fantastic. So where are you heading then?
Well, we're going to do a little fictitious work here.
Or is
We're
it top secret?
Well, we're following his planes. The way I look at it is these Iranians got to have wings. They can't be going around.
Right.
Somebody's going to see them on the road. They're traveling around in the white van. It's pretty, Timothy McVeigh-ish with his Hooper and Urich. So I'm really trying to get people who work here in the private aviation, to be the tipsters, and that's with no money. That's hard to do. But if you appeal to the fact that they're trying to kill the president, then now their eyes and ears are open.
All right, so George Webb, investigative journalist. Find him on the Twitter, Real George Webb #1, Real George Webb 1 at x.com and georgewebb.substack.com. You can subscribe to that Substack and provide him some money for these travels. George, that's all the time we have here today, brother. Great to catch up. As I always tell you, you better stay safe, dude.
Yeah, I try to stay in crowds, but I can't hire a bunch of people my height to keep me away from the snipers because I'm 6'8".
You're 6'8". You can't hide. All right, brother. Safe travels. God bless. We'll talk soon.
God bless you. Bye.
Okay, Real George Webb.